All right, audio's linked. Let's get right into it. I believe I named this one why some people want things more than others. And maybe this isn't a question for people wanting more, but people that want more and can't figure out why they want so much when other people seem content. Maybe content for the most part. Obviously, you talk to anybody and they will always say they don't have enough, or they aren't happy with what they have. They're okay with it, I guess, like things like that. And I think of this a lot as well. Why do some people seem like they're okay with what they have and don't push for bigger? I want huge in my life. I want mansions, big houses, expensive cars, the crazy lifestyle of traveling. I want huge things in my life. And I've had friends that seem like they're okay with just a 9-to-5 job. And I remember asking that one specific friend, the one particular friend, I asked him if he had any goals or ambitions. And he just said that he did. And that was it. Like he wanted big things, but didn't know maybe either how to get it, or maybe he didn't believe it was possible. But that's just where the conversation ended. Like, he was so, I don't want to make it sound bad, but like small-minded. And I say small-minded because I think if you want something in life, you'll work endlessly towards a result. Every time I've wanted something, I figure out a way to get it. Some of the bigger things, okay, let's put it like this. When you want to learn to ride a bike, you start small. Training wheels, help from a parent, right? But then you get it down and then it's just easy. So I've always looked at it as, if you want to figure out how to make $500 a week, let's start small. $100 a week, okay? $100 a week, you take a part-time job, whatever you can. And then $100 a week just seems common. Okay, now you got to push in the next big thing. Maybe it's learning a skill, or maybe it's just taking on another job. Now you're making $500 a week. And then $500 seems easy. So then you push for the $1,000 a week. Then you make $1,000 a week. And then from there it gets harder, because not only did you just double up 500, but now you got to double up 1,000 to make like that big difference. But then you look back at when you struggled to make $100 a week. You struggled to make $500 a week. Then once you're at the 1,000, you think, well, that was easy. I'm not sure why I was so small-minded to think that was hard. But it took an extra push to get you past that, from 100 to 500, from 500 to 1,000. And I've been fortunate enough to, at one point, well, certain points now, I've had a couple times in my life where I'll net $2,000 a week. And I've also been at the point where I was starting and I make $100 a week, part-time job. And I always thought I was making $7.50 an hour at the time. And I thought, how will I ever even make $12 an hour? Like, I can't do that. Small-minded. I told myself I couldn't, or I told myself that it would be hard, that it seemed like the people around me that made that amount just had something already going for them. But then I also asked myself, I'd see people on YouTube, or maybe this is a little bit okay to look from social media, but like other people 5-6 years older than me having certain things, houses, a certain vehicle that I maybe liked, a certain lifestyle that maybe I kind of wanted. And making $100 a week at a part-time job, I thought, well, to make that to be able to afford that, the income would be crazy. And at the time it was, because going from 100 to 1,000 is a giant step. But then I graduated high school. I went from $100 a week to $500 a week. And I said, this can't be it. $2,000 a month. Yeah, $2,000 a month. I had to do math in my head real quick. $2,000 a month is not livable. At the time you wanted to get an apartment, you were paying $1,000-$1,200 a month, and then you have $800 for groceries, gas, and everything between. I'm like, no, that's not doable. That is not doable. So then I went on to the next thing. I ended up starting from the bottom in construction, which now, again, I look back and I think, okay, well, $100 a week is nothing. Like now, $100 to me is almost nothing. It means it's almost meaningless. But at one point, $100 was worth my part-time, well, my weekend, I guess. 2 days of my week. Kind of crazy now that I think about it. If I were to start back at where I was in construction, basically back at the bottom, not knowing anything, it would suck, because I do have the experiences. And again, it's like I pushed for it. I took one step at a time. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I took one step at a time. And I think some people kind of float through life. What I mean by float is they wait for things to come to them. They wait for opportunities without looking for them. I remember looking for opportunities. I remember I was working on a farm in high school. Like I said, part-time. I was working on a farm. And one of the guys that I worked with, he said that he was there because he was laid off from his construction job. Never gave me like an idea. Like he never gave me a specific construction. He just said construction. So, and he said, you can easily make $15 an hour there. Okay, well, I'm making $8. That's double my wage. Oh, it's crazy. Okay, construction. That's what I want to go do then. Construction. I didn't care how hard it was. The farm was hard. So I didn't care how hard it was. So I said construction. And then after I graduated, I found a job in construction, left the farm, went there, started making, went from about $100 a week to about $500-$600, something like that. 40, 50-hour weeks. And I just pursued hours on end. Little by little, at the time it was the most that I've ever made, so I was kind of happy. Then eventually that happiness kind of like faded. It was like, okay, well, I'm kind of used to this now, and it's still not livable. Let's say $500, $2,000 a month. It's still not livable. And so I was looking for the next thing. My dad had a small trucking company as I was growing up. I can say that I never had anything huge. We had a small house, small family. But we never missed a meal. We didn't have nice cars. We didn't have like extravagant lifestyle, but we never missed a meal. We always had power. We always had water, running water. And just seeing the growth that my parents did for us, like everything my parents did for us, encouraged me to push for that more. To say I'm actually a step ahead of where they started, so I should push for more. And So I kind of did. I looked for opportunities that they didn't have. And I still am looking for opportunities that as of right now I don't have. And I think that's a good starting point to look at why some people don't want as much as others, because they either don't have that perspective of I should be doing better, or maybe they think, well, we got by, so I'll just do the same thing and I'll be okay. But like I said, I've always wanted more. Even before I had that part-time job, I've had 2 other YouTube channels. I had a gaming channel. When I was in high school. And that didn't last very long because I had bad grades, so I got my Xbox taken away. And so there went my gaming channel. And then I had the car vlog channel. And I think that one was just expensive, but that's a whole different story, actually. It was expensive, but eventually I just let that go. I couldn't do that anymore. But I always kind of looked for an exit. Like, I always looked for something other than just what I was doing, because I appreciate everything that I have, but also that doesn't mean I can't have more. I don't think. But that growth mentality, I believe, is what separates the people who will become more and those who will just keep their 9 to 5 or whatever it is. We'll just call it typical job 9 to 5 to make it simple. Those who keep their 9 to 5, buy a house, live in debt to the house for 30 years, buy a car they can't afford, or a car that they can't afford but is always giving them issues. At the end of the day, can't afford it. I've always seen these cycles, and in multiple people's lives. Multiple people that I talk to, it seems like when you're in your 20s, you're building your foundation. Your 20s kind of start you somewhere. I'm 26, so I'm kind of in the middle of my 20s. And so I've talked to a lot of people now. You're building your foundation in your 20s. Your 20s kind of set you up. For the majority, some people do change later, but what I've noticed is, I guess, I run into people at jobs where it's they started this job, they've been there for so many years, or they've just been in the industry for so many years, never did anything with it. I don't like that idea. Some people are okay with it. This is probably isn't an episode for those people that are okay with it. This is probably an episode for people that are not okay with it, and that get into their head of, why is it, am I ungrateful? Why is it that I want things that some other people seem like they're okay not having? I don't think it's ungrateful. I don't think it's being ungrateful. Unless you are ungrateful, you should be conscious of that. I don't think it's being ungrateful. I think it's you want to push for more because you expect more out of yourself, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's better to have high expectations than to meet the bar. Because when you meet the bar, you'll only meet it for a certain amount of time. 90% of it, you'll be right under. If you set the bar too high, you'll always be pushing for that higher. The bad thing about it is that then sometimes you feel like you're not doing enough. And then sometimes you feel like you're doing too much, and it's still not getting anywhere. In those times, I have to look back and remind myself where I could have been, where I started. I started a small business 4 years ago. It didn't go very well. I ended up accumulating a lot of debt from it. And I had almost regretted starting the business because I had picked up, it was something like $30,000 of debt, and I didn't have a way to pay it. I was just negative. And I almost regretted it because I thought, well, now I'm in a hole. Like, how long is it going to take me to get out of this? It did take me about a year. I was fortunate enough to find a job that kind of helped me recover all that. But at the end of the year, when I looked back and I said, I'm basically at zero again. I have nothing. I have a job. I have and I don't have anything to my name. But I have the experience. That downfall made me want more. That downfall didn't make me want to quit. It made me take a job to recoup my losses and then go harder. Okay, so I have all this experience. I've done all this before. I started a business. It failed. Do I want to start it back up later? Do I want to try again? Yes. Okay. What do I have to do different? Okay. Again, they're separated me from what I could have been. I could have just had a job and called it good. I could have had a job and I've had jobs that sometimes I hate being at. But I remember that my focus is long term. That I'm shooting for something greater. And I think maybe in the midst of those moments, I could have chose to just given up as well. Okay, well, I guess this is just my future. This is just what I'm destined to do, is have a job. Again, that puts you back down in that category of the small-minded. And it is discouraging. At times it is really discouraging. At times you just kind of think, I'm stuck here. And I see other people put up with it. I sometimes don't put up with it. Sometimes when I have too much, I quit and I say, I can go find a job somewhere else. That's me. But some people put up with it. I see people put up with a lot sometimes. And I put those people in the same category of they don't want that much. They're not shooting for as much as I am. Or maybe they're stuck there because of a circumstance they did to themselves. I don't know. But right now I believe that those of us who want more, those of us who have a bigger have bigger goals. Like right in front of me. So this year I kind of decided, okay, I'm going to do a vision board thing. I never really was into it. I never gave it much of a thought. I thought it was weird. I was like, well, if I want something, I'm working for it. So why do I have to make a vision board? I decided to do it this year. Okay. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what comes out of it. And if it works, it works. But I've started like just printing pictures and hanging them up next to my computer. I have a Porsche, I have a BMW, and then I have my vision board as my background on my computer. Things that I want. I don't know when I'll get there, but I see it every day. I remember during the struggle what I'm pushing for, and maybe that helps as well. Maybe that helps separate me from being the person I could have been if I didn't have that reminder. To not push as hard, maybe, or just be okay with whatever lifestyle. And I have caught myself getting comfortable. A couple times. I had a job. I was making good money. I'd be home. I was eating good. Nothing was really missing. I was doing extra things on the weekend, kinda. I had money to spend. And then I was like, what am I doing? I'm comfortable. It's okay to be comfortable. But also, I think you need to be conscious. Is this comfortable where I worked for it, or is this comfortable where I'm okay staying here? And if you can tell yourself I'm okay staying here, and you don't want to stay there, that should be a wake-up call. If you're okay with it, if you like your job, if you end up telling yourself, okay, I'm okay with this, maybe 5 years, I'll try again in 5 years, I'll switch things up in 5 years, so be it. But I've caught myself a couple of times. I'm comfortable. I'm not reading anymore. I'm not trying to learn something new every day. I'm not looking for a way to get out from where I currently am. My push forward has stopped. I think I have taken breaks. After that year that I kind of paid off that debt and I felt like I was back at break even, I took a break. I said, okay, I'm back at break even. Which way do I want to go? And I did slow down a lot. Then I picked a direction and I started working towards that again. That doesn't mean switch your whole, that doesn't mean change your whole direction in life that you want to go. If you still want the big things, then go for it. Just know that you're chipping away. And depending on how hard you work, depending on what you do, you'll be chipping away faster or slower at getting there. That's partially why I picked this up, because I said, yeah, this could be something, but also I like the idea of giving advice. Something could come from it. Something good could come from it. Other people build something from it, so why not? It's like, okay, so we just got through Genesis. I just got through reading Genesis in the Bible. And God sent the Israelites to Egypt for a time being. They got comfortable there, they stayed there, became slaves. And it's crazy to think about. Sometimes we grow to a certain extent in our life, and then we get comfortable there, we become slaves to that life. We go from making $100 a week to $500 a week to $1,000 a week to maybe $1,500 a week. And then we say, well, I can afford $2,000 a month on rent, or I can get myself into this house that costs me $2,000 a month. I can buy this car that costs me $500 a month. Nice car, nice house, okay? I can go out to dinner once a week. Then by the end of the month, you have nothing. When you were just put there for a season, you weren't put there to maybe stay there forever. Now you're a slave to the life that you built. You see where I'm getting at here? And it's like being self-aware of some of these things will help get you will prevent the slave. Being self-aware that you're putting yourself in these situations will prevent you from being a slave to the situation. Like right now, lately, I have honestly been feeling like I've kind of been okay with being a slave with where I'm at right now. I'm kind of afraid to move. I've been thinking about moving. I want to move. And the life that I live isn't extravagant. I don't have any real debt to my name. A couple credit cards. I just paid off the car. But I'm afraid to move. And I don't know why. I look at opportunity somewhere else and I say that is a better opportunity. But I've allowed that anything less than this might not be comfortable. If I push beyond this, I could get to the next thing. Kind of like, again, when I started the farm, I didn't know well enough to say, I might not like construction because it might be too hard of work. I might not know what I'm doing. I just said, I want to make it happen. And so I did. But at the time, I guess the farm was comfortable because I had already been there. I knew what I was doing. And beyond that, I mean, again, some people just stayed there. They because they couldn't get any better, because they didn't know, or because they didn't want to. But Why would I go back there knowing that there are other opportunities for me? I would not. Okay. Why would I come back to where I am today if I take the risks in the coming year to do other things? Unless I really enjoy this, unless I like the lifestyle I'm living now, which it's not bad, but I would prefer to keep growing. I've been laid off this week. Over the month of December and January, I was almost off most of January. I've been thinking about switching my career. And then I stopped to think about myself, am I asking for too much? Am I ungrateful? Just to be self-aware. But then I think about it, I'm like, maybe I'm losing with where I'm at to get me uncomfortable, to make me uncomfortable with what I'm comfortable. If I'm already uncomfortable, then why not be uncomfortable pushing for greater? Because this situation is comfortable, and it will be uncomfortable until the spring when the weather dries up and we can work some more. And yeah, and really, yes, because I had already applied for something else that I wasn't even okay with. I'm not even okay with. I don't really like the idea of what I applied for, the next job I applied for, but I know that it would put me in a better spot than where I'm at right now, because I would at least be busy. I would at least have an income, but I wouldn't have the comforts of being at home. I wouldn't have the comforts of going to the gym every other day, every 3 days that I go. Right now, I wouldn't even make the 3 days that I go right now. And so I don't want to lose that. That is a luxury kind of comfort. And I guess there are things that I don't want to lose right now. But that if I allow it to enslave me, I might not get to the next thing. Or it'll take me longer to get there. Again, some work creates chipping away at the end goal slower than others. And maybe that's what separates those of us that want more and then think, again, why is it that some people are okay with what they have and I'm not? Am I just ungrateful? Maybe it's not being ungrateful. Maybe it's I don't want to stay comfortable. Maybe subconsciously we understand this. If I stay here, I will become a slave to where I'm at. Because it's comfortable. Because this is good enough. Because right now I have everything that I want for right now. And I'm just going to wait for things to come to me. That's what it feels. That's where I feel like I'm at right now. Now that I think about it, that's kind of where I feel like I'm at right now. I don't want to stay here. I don't. But right now it's comfortable. And so I don't want to get uncomfortable with where I'm at to push for the next thing. They're like levels. We get kind of stuck eventually and we're like, this is okay. And being afraid to lose this to maybe come down here. I guess I've done that before. And so I don't know why I'm afraid to do it again. And maybe some of you guys might have to stop and consider where you're at in your life. Why haven't I grown? Well, maybe you're comfortable. You don't want to become uncomfortable. One of the biggest things that I had to change was I started gaining some weight and I didn't like it. And so I said, I have to go to the gym. Okay, I tried to go after work. I didn't like it. Too many people. I felt self-conscious and I didn't like it. So what I have to do, the uncomfortability of waking up at 3 a.m. to be at the gym when nobody's there, so then I don't have to feel like nobody's looking at me, making fun of me in their head for whatever reason, why that was going in my head. Now I'm comfortable with that. I don't care. I still go at 3 because I like it. I like actually waking up early in the morning, and then I have like an 18-hour day. I have my long days. So that's the point of every other day. I have my 18-hour days, and then I have my like my 12, 14-hour days. And it works out really well. But if I didn't step out of that comfort zone, if I just let myself get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, who knows where the heck I'd be right now. Maybe I wouldn't even be healthy right now. But I told myself I want to go to the gym. That's always something that I kind of like to do. I'm starting to gain some weight. 3 a.m, that's the only time it works. All I have to do is wake up early, go to bed early. It's uncomfortable. I've seen growth. I feel better. I feel healthy. I like it. And so I think that's why I don't want to let that go anymore, because I don't want to lose that. That's a luxury I don't want to lose, but it might be a sacrifice I have to make for a short term. I don't know. I think I'll end this one here. If you guys have any thoughts, let me know in the comment section. If you guys like this episode, go ahead and let me know. Comment, like, whatever platform you guys are listening on, let me know. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.